address this thing called actors' self-talk. Now, actors' self-talk is the self-directing of your own emotional preparation. So, now, people call it emotional preparation. People call it actor preparation. Long time ago, it was always called the inner life. So you have the inner life, or people used to say working from the gut. So you've got your inner life that you're going to try to work to activate to be able to put into your acting. Now, it's like something that you want to be able to achieve so that you can put more of yourself into your acting. So there's this element that has to be able to, some people will say it's adjusting the emotional preparation, but it's a self-talk. So you're not talking to yourself out loud usually. Most people don't have the process of talking to themselves out loud when they're preparing. Some people might. But the idea of it and the practical actual element is you are literally directing yourself during your emotional preparation. So you might have either you've already worked on a piece of work, or you're about to work on another piece of work. And you have to be able to get yourself internally awakened in an area that's at least in the ballpark of the area, emotionally. Now, it's worth repeating, and it's worth realizing, even if you've heard this before from me, is that feelings come and go. You get a feeling 1 second, it could be gone the next. It's flirty. It's a feeling. It can unless it's a deep feeling. And if deep feelings become deep feelings all of a sudden, then some of them can turn into emotions. And emotions are actually in your gut. Emotions are actually the inner life. Emotions are this vast thing, and they stay in you. And then interaction, which is the doing part of acting. The interaction works to be able to keep bouncing off what you've put in internally, or what you've emotionally prepared, or you want to call it emotional technique, or you want to call it inner life, which is what it was called back in the day. So the point of this discussion is to try to help you to be comfortable with not thinking that this is something coming from your head. It's not. This isn't a head game that we're talking about. This is self-directing your emotions. You've got to learn how to be able to direct yourself into your emotions. So, if the script says the emotion thing is upset or a surprise, then you want to go into something that's deep. So therefore you have a deeper experience. Now you can warm that area up, just like a pitcher warms up for a pitching match for the baseball. So you warm your area up, you warm the emotional, internal life up. And then you go moment to moment truthfully in your acting. Now, you literally, whatever you end up doing internally, will somehow, if you're having authentic moment to moment, is what it's called in some areas. Some people call it moment to moment. Other people just say it's interacting. But you have moment to moment going on. And you get the moment to moment going. If you have authentic communication happening, then what will happen is whatever is internally in your emotional preparation is going to start to get, it's going to interact as well. It's going to have some sort of responses. There's going to be responses coming off you, and it's going to be different than if you hadn't have done it. Different. So this is why it's vital to understand that it's completely, absolutely healthy to have actors self-talk. Completely healthy. This is part of your ability to be able to grow. Now, emotional capability is the humanistic quality of acting. It is the growth area. Now, I have seen personally well over 20,000 exercises in acting. Well over. It's almost double that, but I'll just say it's 20,000. So, and it's been over 20 teachers. And I watched a lot of the teachers learn acting in classes before they even became teachers. It's amazing. And it's true. But the thing is, I have seen so many people over the years think to themselves that because there's this critique that sometimes will come up in the actor's work, they'll think that they're thinking to themselves too much, and then they'll miss getting their emotional life. Now, I'm talking about people who have worked in the industry. I'm not talking about people, I'm talking about all kinds of people. People who have worked in the industry, people who haven't worked in the industry, people who have learned the craft, people that are famous people's kids. I don't care who they are. It doesn't make any difference. What I was interested in, and what I'm interested in, is being able to learn the techniques and be able to share the techniques with people. That's it. No ego. It's not about anything else. It's about making sure that people are able to develop that tool, to be able to trust themselves, to have actor self-talk. Of course you have to talk to yourself internally. You've got to direct yourself. That's not thinking. That's an emotional thinking. If you take a feeling and you saturate that feeling, you really invite it in, and then it starts to become deep. If it becomes deep enough, it will become an emotion. At that point, in your emotional preparation, or you want to call it inner life, or whatever it is, but it's this emotion. You're getting emotion into your acting. At the point where your internal switches from something flirting or feeling, and it becomes more serious, and it becomes an emotion. At that point, you're in emotional intellect. You're not at the level of logic. So at this point of your preparation, you've gone past the idea, you've gone past the flirting feelings, and now things have gotten deeper, and all of a sudden, you're in emotion. So at that point, when you're working with your actor's self-talk, you're actually directing your own acting. Now, there's a couple different ways to do this. If you do it this way, which is the way where you're stimulating and you're not trying to preconceive, then you're going to be able to self-stimulate emotion in yourself. And then when you go in to do your acting, your emotion's going to be with you. So then every bit of interaction that's happening is going to be something that's going to be fantastic. Because there's some emotion. There's going to be a life. There's something that's going to work. It's going to work off of you. There's going to be some kind of now. And then when you've got the response, doing something because it's working from your gut. That's what they always say back in New York, back in the day. Work off your gut. Work off your gut. And then the whole premise of inner life developed. An emotion in acting. And that was what then later developed into this thing called emotional preparation. Which is exactly the topic of this video. And that is the actor's self-talk. That's the directing of your own emotional preparation. So don't think for yourself. Don't take yourself out from what's working for you in your acting. Emotions work for you in your acting. And what will be very, very common is you'll have to go back and keep adjusting your emotions. That's what's called an emotional adjustment in acting. If there's something that's going on in your scene, in your audition, if somebody wants you to do another take of the scene, they want you to give you 5 minutes and then you go come back, work again in the casting, whatever it is, casting calls or whatever they call them. And there's all kinds of selection processes for talent. That's the reason why I'm saying it's obscure. It's because it is obscure. Then you can go back and you can make the adjustment in the time that you have. Now, you want to talk about something different and interesting. Every single singer should be using emotional preparation, and nobody is. Very few people are using it. Some people do it automatically, but they're not working with emotional preparation on a technical level, unless it's just by accident. And every single singer could benefit from this. So where are we right now in terms of the overall creative aspects, when you don't even have people working with a technique that's been around since 1950s, that then later became known as emotional preparation? And there's many different ways to do emotional preparation. It's not just one single way. That's why I've written a book about it. And if you want to, boop the like button. That's what it's called. Booping, or boop the like button. And the thing about all of this, it's about trust. And it's also about getting the knowledge to know that it's a normal process. Now, sometimes you'll see actors mumbling to themselves, trying to memorize scripture lines. Well, don't worry about it. People have their own processes. Maybe that's something that's how they learn. I myself, I'm dyslexic. I'm terrible with it. I can get through I'm dyslexic. Every single time I see a U, I see an N, and every single time I see an N, I see a U, and that's what it's like for me to read. Just how it is. And it's like that with a couple other letters too, like a D and a P. So, obviously, what I've decided to do and what I've done so hard and what I've worked so hard for and at is to study the emotional components of the work. Because I can study that and I can learn that really well, and I have. So I study that in over 20,000 exercises. And if you don't know that the self-talk is the self-directing of your emotional life, you might one take have to be very, very angry. And so you have to be able to get your emotion, invite the feelings in, work with the feelings, let them mature the feelings up, get them rich, get them deep feelings, and then see if they can turn into an emotion for you. And if they turn into the emotion, then that's the time where you've got to really, you're the one that's actually having to work to decide, is this the moment to go off of in my emotional preparation? Or do I bring in another element like motivation? Could I add motivation to add some gas to this element of emotional preparation or actor preparation? Could I bring in a meaning? Could I add another meaning? This isn't you not working the technique. That self-talk is actually you working within the technique, and that's how you expand your humanity. And this is all typically you do the emotional preparation, which is to yourself. It's by yourself, it's independent. And so then you've got the being side of the work, knowing how to affect your being. And then when you've got the script, you pick up the script and you go into the script, idea by idea. And the interaction of your interacting is going to come through with your emotion. If your emotion's feeling a little bit of anxiety, that's what's going to come out in the script. You don't have to play the idea. It will be automatic because you've awakened that part of yourself up. So this is what some people will reply and say it's actor's faith. Sure. It takes faith, it takes trust to trust that you're not talking to yourself like a crazy person and that you're actually talking to yourself in a technique. And when I say crazy person, I mean that as a no offensive way to anybody. It's an explore. See, emotions and emotional preparations is an exploration of your neuroticism, of what it is that you're being neurotic. I mean, this is what you're dealing with, a feeling. You're dealing with this element of a lot of times you can't identify it before you work with it. Sometimes you can. It depends how many times you've worked with that area. But when you find a new area, emotionally, you may not be able to identify it, or you give it some different label, but you know that you've caught something in you. And you've given yourself permission, if you choose to be able to have this actor self-talk that's going to be able to then allow and permission and work that out, and then allow that to go into your acting. See, if you waken it up inside of you before you work, it most likely will show up in your acting. So think about this. Comment if you feel like it. Be who you are. And see, sometimes you waken stuff up, you're not exactly sure what it is, and then later on you realize exactly what those elements are. And then you're able to then include those elements, those emotional elements, in your work. And when you're able to do that, now you've got an extra tool for your acting. So the point of this, and the point of of trusting yourself. So you're trusting the fact that it's okay to self-direct yourself when you're working with an emotion. And then you can go back from that and you can add another thing. You can add writing down. You write down the experience after you've had an experience in acting. So try this out. Enjoy the process. Enjoy acting. And, boop the like button if you feel